Hello everybody, Brian Malloy here, and this video is going to be about shooting or sending projectiles through the air. So here I have a little example of shooting. So I'm going right and shooting, I'm going left and down here and shooting and up there, you just shoot. And so all I'm doing is shooting a bullet. Now, what is it different about this bullet? Not much. I mean, in my case, a bullet is simply a sprite or a multi-frame sprite that has no Y velocity. It has a specific spot where it starts out of the pterodactyl's mouth, and it has a max distance. So let me just show you this idea of a max distance. So if I go here, you can see that they dive right about somewhere in here, and I think it's maybe 250, 300 pixels. So once they get to 300 pixels, I reclaim the bullet and probably put it in a bullet pool. So for me, a bullet is nothing other than a sprite or a multi-frame sprite with zero Y velocity that emanates at a certain point outside of the pterodactyl's mouth, has a certain velocity and a certain distance. Now you got to be careful of that. Now watch, let me just show you. If I'm moving, they look fine. Okay, this way. If I move this way now, but if I shoot and then move, you see, you shouldn't be able to catch up to your bullet. Now that's something you can adjust, and you might want to think about adjusting. Anyway, so how do we implement this? That's what the rest of this video is about, and in particular, some of the nitty-gritty details you might have to address as you're implementing projectiles. Okay, so first, what I'd like to talk about is what's a bullet. So, as I said before, a bullet's nothing other than a sprite or a multi-sprite. And I'm going to show you probably the worst, the harder of the two cases, a multi-bullet or a multi-frame bullet, really. And all I do is derive it from a multi-frame sprite, and I use the draw from multi-sprite to draw it. So there's no draw here, but I do have an update. And all the update does is, let's just go ahead and look at the CPP file so you can see what the update looks like. So I want to look split multi-bullet, multi-bullet.cpp. So here's the update. So all I want to do in the update is I call the update from upstairs. So I go up to the multi-sprite. So I'm actually reusing the draw from multi-sprite and the update from multi-sprite. And here's how I'm calling that update. But I get the position before I update, and then I want to check. If the bullet had started at that position before I update the sprite, did it go too far? That is it's X here. I don't have to worry about the Y. I don't even know why I'm checking that because my bullets have zero velocity in the Y. But so they're not going to travel any distance in the Y, but it will travel in the X. So what I'm trying to get here is the distance it has traveled in the X. Well, I guess, no, I take that back. What I'm checking for here is it off the screen. Is it off the screen to the left or off the screen to the right? So what I'm trying to say here is, if it went off the screen, it went too far. Otherwise, get its distance that it traveled, add that to the total distance, which is up here, so I keep track of the distance. So add that to the distance and see if it's greater than max distance, which I've read from the XML. If it's greater than that max distance, then it went too far. And all I do then is, let me go back here, is set that flag. And then I can check. If it's gone too far, then essentially I want to either delete it from my list or move it into a bullet pool, whatever you're doing with your bullets. So that's a bullet. A bullet is simply a sprite or a multi-sprite with a specific distance, and it can go too far. So I'm getting a lot of reuse here. Okay, so that's a bullet. Now, how do I shoot? Well, right now I am only allowing my player to shoot, which is probably, if you're a bad gamer like me, a good idea. But if you're in a real game, you probably want all of your sprites to shoot, your NPCs and your player. But I'm just showing you the player shooting. So I have a player, Peter the pterodactyl, and I have some sprites running around also. Those, I think they were those birds, black birds flying around. And here's my player. So my player is a specific, it's not a drawable star, it's player. So I can say, if I hit the A key, send the player left, right, the D key, go right. And if I hit the space bar, if I happen to hit the space bar, then I want my player to shoot. So it's that simple. How do I start a bullet to shoot from the player? Just press the space bar. So let's go from there into the player. So here's the player. So here's what I have in player is a shoot function. Now, my player does not, it does derive from a base class. So you most likely want to have a virtual function shoot in your drawable class and then have that be derived all the way down to allow everybody to shoot. But I just for now have a shoot function in my player.h, and I have of course these images because what I have is the player can either fly left, fly right, shoot left, or shoot right, and those are all 4 different frames of animation. And I always draw images, but I have to reset those images depending upon what the player is doing. So for example, if the player is shooting, then okay, if I tell the player to shoot, then I need to use the shoot images and not the fly images. So if his velocity is greater than 0, that means I want to use the images where he shoots right. If his velocity is less than 0, then I want his images to be shooting left. And if his velocity is 0, that is neither positive or negative, then I want to make sure that I get that he's facing the right way and that his images. So in other words, if he's standing still and shooting, then I want to know which way is he facing so I can get that right. So I also have an enum, the direction he's facing. You may be able to do that a better way than I'm doing it so that there aren't so many checks, but that's how I do it. That's how I take care of the case where he's not moving but yet he's shooting. So he's at a standstill. Okay, so first of all, you have to deal with that. And this is how I did it. Next, you have to make sure that the bullets aren't a straight line. So you want an interval between the bullets. Let's see if I can get away with just crossing this off and see if you can get what I mean. So I won't be checking for that anymore. Let's see what happens. It probably won't work. Okay, you see what happens now when I shoot? You get that straight line. Looks ridiculous. So I only want to shoot if a certain number of milliseconds have elapsed. So I have a thing called a bullet interval. So I only allow a bullet to come out of the pterodactyl's mouth maybe every half second or every 500 milliseconds or something like that. So you don't get that straight line effect. So I have to keep track of how often I've shot. So time since last bullet. And so that's something you want to update. If the time since the last bullet, and I take care of that in the advanced frame, I think, or maybe in the update, I'm not sure. Let me just check. So you might be interested in that. I think in the advanced frame, do I do it? No. I don't know where I take care of. Maybe I do it in here. Not sure where I do that. Maybe it's down here in update. Let's see. Is it in the update? Yeah. I do it in update. I add the ticks to the time since the last bullet. So you can think about where you want to do it, but that's where I add it to. So if the time since the last bullet is greater than what I want the bullet interval to be, then I'm allowed to shoot one more bullet. And then don't forget to set the time since the last bullet back to 0. So when you come time around again and you've a number of ticks have elapsed, you can shoot again. So that's the second thing. So first of all, we have to get the images correct for left, right, and for shooting. Secondly, we have to make sure that the bullets aren't a straight line because that looks ridiculous. Next, we have to set some kind of velocity for the bullet. So I get my current velocity, and then I don't know what I do with it. I add some minimum bullet speed to that current velocity in the X. I don't worry about the Y. So I'm only interested in velocity of 0, not velocity of 1. And then I have to next figure out where I want the position of the bullet. So what I'm doing in here is what I'm doing from here to here is trying to get 2 things. How fast I want the bullet to go and what position do I want it to go. And of course, to get that position, I have to know, is he going right, is he going left, or is he standing still? And if he's standing still, what facing is he? Is he facing right or facing left? So all those things you have to figure out. And then I simply call I have a bullets class that is up here. So mine are multi-bullets. So I have a multi-bullet. There it is. So I have a bullets class where I actually pull the bullets. So, and I say to the bullets, shoot one of your stupid bullets. And when you shoot it, have it coming out at this position and at this velocity. And that's all there is to it. And then once I've done that, then I simply reset time since last bullet so I can keep that interval going. And that's it. Other than that is just having a bullet, how you want your really, if you have a sprite or a multi-sprite, you could be instantiating a sprite or a multi-sprite as long as it starts at this position and this velocity. So those are just some nitty-gritty aspects of shooting, some hints about how to do it. I hope it helps. I think that gamers do find it difficult to get shooting quite right, but once you get it, and I think these are some of the issues you'll have to address, it can look pretty cool in your game. So hey, happy programming, happy gaming. Brian Malloy over and out.